And here we are, a new Batman movie, and let you know right out the gate, there are no spoilers in this review. This is a spoiler-free review. Will there be a spoiler video that I do later on in the week? Absolutely. There's a lot to talk about in this movie, not all of which I can talk about here because, well, spoilers. There'll be a time and a place for that, but for right now, sit back, relax, enjoy my spoiler-free review of The Batman. So The Batman is a new Batman movie that changed hands and changed concepts a lot throughout the years. It's going to be a standalone Ben Affleck Batman movie, and then it wasn't. And for the uninitiated, for people who don't bathe in comic book movie nerddom, it can get very confusing. I totally get that. So to clarify, this is not a sequel or a prequel to any existing Batman movie out there right now. This is a new on-screen Batman adventure, not linked to any other on-screen Batman adventures that we have. Which, if you look at it, that is very comic bookish. It's funny that comic book movies have become so comic book. In the world of comic books, they're graphic novels, comic book stories that aren't linked together, they're their own things, and it's kind of funny that comic book movies are doing that. While we have one on-screen Batman adventure, we'll have another on-screen Batman adventure, and they don't have to be linked. That is if they keep the Snyder universe going, and they should. But okay, in this Batman movie titled The Batman, Robert Pattinson plays the Batman. There's a new player in town. By player, I mean serial killer, which is a new on-screen Riddler. And as we saw in the trailer, very dark, very broody Batman. I was gonna call it a Batman Adventures. It's more of an investigative Batman film. Broody Batman film in terms of atmosphere, the atmosphere of Gotham. I thought this movie really hammered the point home. The point is a point that we've heard in other Batman movies, other Batman stories, but it's never fully been realized by me. And that is that Gotham is the biggest shithole on the planet. Batman, why are you even trying? Because Bruce Wayne and Batman, they always hear that, but I've always been like, yeah, but Gotham has great architecture. Or I'll be like, yeah, it has a criminal element, but you take out the mob, you have a pretty sweet city on your hands. This movie really hammers it home. It's like, no, Gotham is the worst. And Batman might just be fighting a losing fight. I dug the fact that they hammer that tone home. Probably helps that 99% of this movie is nighttime. Right before sunrise, that's in here. Right at sunset, that's in here. No daytime scenes though. Feels very Gotham. It feels very Arkham City. That also means Robert Pattinson is Batman for 95% of the movie, though I can make an argument for 100. But before we get to the Pattinson, because I'm gonna spend a lot of time talking about that, we're gonna talk about support characters. The support characters in this movie were great. I loved Colin Farrell as the Penguin. When you see him in the trailer, you're like, that's not Colin Farrell. When you hear him in the movie, you hear more Colin Farrell in there. Point is though, it's one of those castings where I'm like, wouldn't have thought of it, and that's why I do not get paid money to think of it. Colin Farrell was great in this movie, as was Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman. Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman is a standout in The Batman. One could argue that Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman made for a more interesting character than Batman in a movie titled The Batman. Which is really funny that we got the Bat, the Cat, the Penguin, which is one of the taglines for Batman Returns. More of a side thought, really. But what I liked about it is that you have these Batman villains and Batman characters in here, but you don't get origin stories for them all. It makes the world feel more established, more real. Like, it's just like, yeah, Gotham exists, and it's existed for longer than Batman's existed. Really, it's the fact that they all come together in this lived-in criminal city, this criminal world that makes for the most interesting character in the movie, and that is the city of Gotham itself. Now with Riddler, I'm gonna tread lightly, because we haven't seen a lot of the Riddler in the trailers, but you do see the fact that obviously there are kills and riddles that Batman has to solve when confronting Riddler's games and traps and whatnot. And I thought those were great. They're messed up, fulfilling, violent. It was a cool introduction to Riddler into this kind of world. Also, there's a real, what the hell is going on kind of feeling you have when you're seeing it. Like, what's Riddler doing and why? I'll talk more about Riddler this weekend in my spoiler talk video. Also, loved the Batmobile. In the trailer, I was like, seems like a muscle car with a rocket on the back. And it still does feel like that. Which, if I'm being honest, is most of the reason it felt awesome. Because when that engine kicks on and that sound design hits you in the middle of your chest, you're like, Also leads to what I think is the best Batmobile chase sequence I've seen in a Batman movie. I dug it. It was fast. It was exciting. It didn't seem overly CGI. I mean, CGI is getting pretty good these days. So if I found out, oh, it was CGI, well, it is what it is. But if I found out, nope, that was a real car chasing another car, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised. It just felt grit in your teeth real. And as much as I usually forget to talk about musical scores, I made a point to remember to talk about this. Michael Giacchino's musical score in here is great. It's the song in the trailer that is that epic swell, and that's, you'll listen to it on YouTube. 150 times after you watch the movie. Now, Jeffrey Wright as Gordon. Jeffrey Wright is a great actor, and he makes the call work. The call being, right, we're gonna have Gotham, and we're gonna have every element of Gotham, every person in Gotham be the broodiest version that they could possibly be. For most of the characters, it does work. I think Jeffrey Wright made that work for Gordon. He feels like a Gordon who's just at his wits' ends, has the weight of the world on his shoulders, nothing's working, so he's like, all right, this vigilante person is really doing the only game in town that looks like it might lead to anything, and I can see why this version of Gordon, this super broody Gordon, went there. But then we get to the broodiest of broodies, Robert Pattinson as Bruce Wayne. I say Bruce Wayne because broody Batman makes sense. When he was cast, people were like, oh, he's gonna be super emo Batman. I was like, hey, he outacted everyone in Tenet, we will see. But hey, internet, when you're right, and he is super broody Bruce Wayne. The problem with Robert Pattinson's Batman in this movie is the fact that there's no real differential between Bruce Wayne and Batman. My favorite interpretations of Batman are really you have three characters working in one body. You have Bruce Wayne when it's just him hanging out with Alfred, no other eyes are around. You have Bruce Wayne when he's in the public eye, when he plays up that public persona. And then you have the Batman, and the three of them feel differently. You know, you have this trinity of character. You have the id, ego, and super ego thing going on. This movie, he's broody Batman, then he's hanging out with Alfred, who really, Andy Serkis' Alfred's only in it for a couple scenes. Not in it much, because for the most part, he is out there doing his thing as Batman, and Alfred's just not a part of the dynamic. He's not part of the equation. But okay, super broody Batman, he's super broody when he's with Alfred. How about the public eye? There's one scene where he goes into public and also, he's the same kind of broody. He's just the same guy in all three personas. Again, probably a conscious effort. They wanted to really show how much Gotham's getting everyone down, which worked for Gordon in this movie for me. But when he's Bruce Wayne, it's a logical leap that he would have to bullshit people and put on a BS smile because, like, well, you don't want people knowing that he's possibly Batman. You'd have a lineup of a bunch of possible Batman suspects. You'd be able to pick him out immediately. Yeah, I think broody billionaire with way too much time on his hands, I just think he's Batman. Just a guess. What do I win, Johnny? It's like he's not even trying to hide it. It made the character feel so one-dimensional and boring. And that's on top of the fact that when he's Batman, he doesn't feel like Batman. He doesn't feel mythical. He just feels like a guy went to a sporting goods store and got some gear. Now he's Batman. I feel like I could go to REI, drop some cash, become Batman tomorrow. It kind of feels like in Mask of the Phantasm when Bruce Wayne did his trial run as a vigilante. No one really took him seriously. It's that same kind of vibe, but for the entire movie, and he has a Batman costume. And you might be thinking, well, these are his early days as Batman. He'll get there eventually, but this movie does illustrate, it says that he's been Batman for 2 years, which I believe is longer than Christian Bale's Batman was Batman by the end of The Dark Knight. Again, probably a conscious effort. It's just not one that I felt paid off for a Batman movie. He did have a good Batman voice, I'll say that. He wasn't like, excavator, a psychopath. No, like, you know, he just lowered his voice. I dug his Batman voice. Guys, in the end, the movie The Batman had a lot that worked for me. The overall tone of Gotham, the fact that this is the darkest movie I've seen since Dark City, that works too. It has tones of Long Halloween. It has tones of Batman Eternal. The thing that impressed me about this movie is how jam-packed it is. It's not just like, oh, the Riddler comes into town, now it's Batman versus the Riddler. There are a lot of pieces in this Gotham chessboard that are on the move. The Batman is an amazing world of Gotham. I want to see more from this world of Gotham. And although I wish I was more invested with the Batman character himself, I had a good time with this movie and its world. That would be a good time, no alcohol required. So I'm gonna get out of here and I'll see you this weekend for my Batman spoiler talk. Until then, The Batman, have you seen it? What did you think about it? Are you looking forward to it? Whatever you think, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.